Shut up and sit down.
And welcome to the McKinley Week edition of the BlackSwarm podcast. Hank Piper with Rob Antonell. Now, before we get into McKinley, as we do, we're going to recap the Warren game. So, Rob, I know you didn't manage to make the trip up there, but did you at least tune in for like 5, 10, maybe even 15 minutes?
No, not at all.
Didn't what?
I thought you were going to say seconds, which the answer was still no. But no, I watched exactly 0 seconds of that game in live or replay, and I listened to the same amount.
Okay, did you at least read any comments about it, see anything, hear anything?
No.
No.
Nope.
All right.
Nope. Heard the quarterback was pretty decent, and their line sucked. But I think that's also kind of what everybody said before the game started. So, no, I really haven't heard anything about it.
So
I could tell you exactly what happened in the Cleveland Indians game that night.
So you heard what I told somebody else when you were near me and they asked. Got it. All right.
Yeah, I still heard it.
All right, sick. I guess I get to carry the segment. This one's going to be a nice little change of pace. In summation, line not stellar on either side of the ball. Quarterback, pretty decent, but he ended up actually getting more reps at receiver than he did quarterback. I thought the white boy they brought in when they wanted to move their dude to receiver actually did a pretty good job. He might have actually had more rushing yards on the night, too. Now, did that come because we were playing more two-man in the second half and worried about their passing attack and just kind of giving him scrambling lanes? Yes, absolutely, but still, he's... I can't remember if he was a junior. I don't think he was a sophomore, but it looks like they have a guy there next year for him that, if I were them, I'd feel pretty confident in. I did hear that they did get a new head coach at some point, and he is the
Yeah, that's... After the podcast, I remembered that. And I don't know how we just let that go, and none of our asshole friends texted us the next morning making fun of us for forgetting it. But yeah, it's Hoban's old offense coordinator, right?
Yes, it is.
I mean, we haven't talked about it. This is the first time we've talked about it. But I immediately thought about that after the podcast. I was like, shit, we're here talking about their old basketball coach. And yeah, Hoban lost their OC to go to Warren. They lost their strength coach. They lost their biggest booster club member to an NIL firm.
That's
yeah,
serious?
but enough about them. Yeah. The biggest booster for Hoban took a job working for a Cleveland-based NIL firm, and the jokes write themselves.
That is almost too on the nose to be believable.
Yeah, no, it's 100% true. But enough about them.
That's amazing.
Warren.
Yeah. So, you could kind of see it in Warren's offense. There was the skill disparity and how outmatched they were against our defense. Kind of, a lot of their stuff was dead on arrival, but you could see a lot of the stuff that they were trying to do, and it did look like a lot more competent offense than we've seen from them in the past. It's not that old Warren, throw your most athletic kid at QB and let's see what happens type deal. It actually seemed like a pretty competent system. It's just our defense, came out, did their thing, and shut them down.
Can I take a second here to? So I think this would be considered a hot take.
Let's hear it.
And I wonder what kind of odds somebody would give me on this.
Okay, you have piqued my interest, so let's hear it.
5 years from now, Warren has a better program in place than Hoban.
Oh, that's a very hot take. I'm going to give you see, when you get up into the higher odds is where I kind of get lost a little bit. I'm thinking plus 15,000.
Well, I would take that right now.
So what odds Okay, so take be what's the word? An unbiased bystander here. What would be your odds setting to that if that wasn't your take?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know like how you would put odds to it. But I know at plus 15,000, I would take it.
How about plus? Let's double it. Plus 30,000.
Yes, if I was going to take it at 15,000, why wouldn't I take it at 30,000?
Less likely to happen. Don't stop playing the money. Start playing the odds of it actually happening.
Oh, well, it's dumb to take a bet that's plus
Yeah,
15,000. It's not going to
yeah.
happen. But this is something that I think could happen. So you're just giving me better odds on it. That's how am I supposed to say no to better odds on something I think is
All
going to
right.
happen? All right, it's not that I think it's going to happen. I think it could happen. There's scenarios where it does.
I mean, the world I see that happening in is if Tyrell, that's his name, right? If
Mhm.
Tyrell leaves Hoban, then yes, I can absolutely see that happening. Somebody, I,
Yeah,
I'm not saying that they're just gonna, circle the drain once he leaves. I'm assuming they would hire somebody else in to keep that whole thing going.
I don't know. I don't know if they would. That's my whole point. Is I don't know if they would.
Man, because
There's been so many rumors about them not enjoying the success of the football program at their
yeah,
school that I almost feel like if Troll leaves, they just kind of
you
let it
think they'd
go.
be just fine going back to an irrelevant team that
Yes.
when the most average Massillon team that ever was is beating their asses at halftime, the head coach comes in and breaks his hand punching a whiteboard because we're not beating them bad enough.
Okay. I don't know if that's what they want to happen, but there's been too many rumors about them wanting to change course from being a football school to getting back to being that private academic school that they were in the past and having that as a reputation. There was too many things coming about them having internal fights about like even they weren't going to fire Terrell, but I think it was
Yeah.
one of those where it's like, hey, if you can go find an opportunity, he did almost
Mm-hmm.
leave in 2020. Um, he was going to take a like offensive coordinator job at a college, and yeah, that whole thing blew up. But
So, do we know why Hoban doesn't like being a successful football school?
I'm guessing it's just because of their alumni, and I don't know, maybe they're starting to get a bad reputation for, just being a football school, or, maybe there's parents that are mad that they're spending $40,000 on their kid's education, and, they have a bunch of football players that don't take school seriously. I'm not saying that they don't, I don't know the kids,
Mm-hmm.
but like, I don't know, why would a highly, whether they are or not, they're acting as if they're a highly prestigious academic school. Why would they not want to be known only for football? I mean, I don't know. I'm just saying, I think there's a very real scenario where, let's say they just kind of fund her the next couple of years and Terrell leaves and they just kind of let it go after that. They already lost I mean, they go through offensive coordinators like every other year
Mm-hmm.
anyway. But then there was all the issues with their strength coach and he left. Um, he it made it seem like it wasn't really his choice to leave either. Um, I don't know that for fact. It's just kind of how it was, how he seemed when he left.
Oh
But
yeah, I
you know,
I do
I don't
remember
know.
that. I forgot about that. It took a second, but yeah, he did put out a message that he was, more or less not happy with the fact that they didn't renew his contract. Essentially, now,
Yeah, and they kept the like other strength coach, the woman that was
mm,
under him, and I don't know. I just it's one of those things where I could see like just Rome collapsing.
yeah, the more you lay that out, the more I can see it. I don't necessarily think, I know you're not saying Warren would fill that vacuum, essentially.
No, but I do like some of the things they're putting in place. I think this coach that they have, he's a worn guy,
Mm-hmm.
but he has that Hoban coaching experience. He can kind of like know what it takes to put together a program, hold kids accountable, build it from the ground up. They still have McDaniels helping out. They have Shepis in the building. They have that new indoor
Mm-hmm.
facility. Um, it's never been a lack of talent with them. It's they've never had, not never, but recently they haven't had the organizational structure to put a program in place more than just getting kids to show up in August and play football.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they're going to be a powerhouse. I just think Hoban could fall further than like where Hoban's going to rise
Okay,
to.
so
Warren's going to
I
rise
also
to. Yeah.
kind of misunderstood. So your thing is in looking at both teams in 5 years, Warren will be a more successful program in 5 years than Hoban will be in 5 years. Okay,
Yeah,
because the
absolutely.
way I initially registered that was that that Warren will their resume in 5 years will look better than Hoban's has. And
No,
okay,
no. Literally 5 years from now, I think Warren will be in a better spot that year than Hoban will be that
okay, those
year.
plus 15,000 odds are out the fucking window then, because I
Okay.
can absolutely see a reality where that happens. Am I?
Yeah, I don't think Hoban does. I don't think Warren does better over the next 5 years. I'm saying 5 years from now, starting
Yeah,
clean.
I got you. All right. Yeah, no, that's absolutely possible. And you said, like you said about the new indoor, it's quite the juxtaposition of that whole facility they have in the one end zone compared to like the rest of their stadium falling apart. I so I learned while there, and by learned I mean some guy in the stands said this, and I just took him at his word that the lower bleachers that they always have covered up, the older set, are just straight up
Mhm.
condemned, and they just haven't done anything with it that yet. That's why they don't let people
I
sit
mean,
there.
that would make sense. I mean, why else wouldn't you? I mean, maybe you're trying to separate fans from the
Mm.
sideline, but I mean, yeah, if you just told me it's not usable, I mean that makes sense.
Yeah, no,
So
I believe it. I am.
I remember maybe not the last time we went up, but the time before that, like the water wasn't working in the bathrooms, like they didn't have running water or something like that.
I can confirm the bathrooms did have running water this time. If they can find the money to, renovate the stadium, make it a little more modern, make it kind of match what that
Yeah.
new complex is, I think it'll look better overall, and maybe help just show people that Warren's back on the map. But the one thing I will pound on the table for is they better damn well keep the trough in the bathroom, because that was quite the throwback, walking in and having to pee and just seeing the trough there, and I'm like, oh, this is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, definitely some old school vibes in that stadium.
And kind of along the same lines, they did keep, I don't know what you would call it, but it's like where the band sits, and it's kind of like
Hmm.
pyramid shape-ish.
Yeah.
There is a word for it, and it's escaping me. But they did end up keeping that, and they kind of tucked it in the corner between that new complex and the away stands. And it's just like, that's always a thing that kind of stood out to me of Warren's stadium, that made him stand out a little more, make him unique. So that was one thing I'm happy that they kept. Now
Yeah.
I do have not a counterpoint or a question, but a little bit of pushback as far as their new head coach knowing how to build a program. Building a program at a parochial school is very different than building one at a public school. So, while I do think, Warren in 5 years has a good chance to be a lot more successful than Hoban in 5 years, do you
Hmm.
think he knows how to go about that route without, let's call it, the leeway that the parochial schools get in Ohio?
Well, go ask Glenville. Go ask McKinley. Go ask, other schools in Cleveland. I mean, Youngstown is an area you can pull kids from.
Yeah.
Um, I think we get used to Stark County kind of going through the division of townships and cities and, pretty hard lines between, what area
Mm.
you're in. But Warren could pull from the greater Youngstown area. And I would say in Warren's case, being able to recruit kids just within your own district to actually, stay in school and, show up to sporting events and, be part of a program probably is also a recruiting task within itself.
Yeah.
You know, you normally, like in Massillon, don't have a 5-star receiver walking down the streets not playing football. But, Warren probably has a few kids that just never got into the program and or they never took it seriously or whatever. But just being able to get kids in that area excited about football again, um, that's a task. But no, he could pull kids from outer areas. That happens. We're not going to act like that
Yeah.
doesn't happen.
Yeah, I do find it funny that the only two teams you name dropped had like the Ohio high school equivalent of the death penalty brought down on them in the last like 10, 15 years, and the other team has gone 1-12 in their last 13 years against their biggest rival, and also has had two complete high school classes that never once beat them. So I don't know if
Hmm.
name dropping Glenville and McKinley is the helping the point you're trying to make here, brother.
Glenville won a state championship last year. I mean, McKinley, you would say they're a better program than Warren right now, though I think we'll get into McKinley, but um, I think some of those strides McKinley was making when Hall first
Mm-hmm.
started have kind of started to fade away, and I'm somewhat worried about their program again.
Yeah, we can get into that. But I guess to kind of adding on to the point of program building and whatnot, Warren has an incredible home game atmosphere, and I just hope that our fans that were bitching in the stands about it can like appreciate it for what it was. Because as the visiting team, it's like, yeah, it's kind of a little bit of a pain in the ass, but like having that just homer ass announcer, you're playing highlights against that you've had historically against the team that you're currently playing, and just blaring music up until the snap of the opponents when they're on offense, all absolutely incredible. Just phenomenal home game atmosphere, and I don't want that to go unappreciated in all of this.
Yeah, I mean, I heard like some of those remarks also, and I mean, it makes sense, especially for the big games. Like I remember when we went down to Steubenville that very first time, it was just such an intimidating atmosphere that, like, yeah, like, did it suck? Absolutely. But like, does it give you this home field advantage? Yes, absolutely. I mean, that's kind of what you want, right?
Mm-hmm. You damn right you do. I almost said absolutely there to like because you got that word stuck in my head now, but no, that's like as the active visiting opponent, it is annoying and it does kind of suck, but like being able to take a step back from that and appreciate what they're doing and putting on the show like for their fans as the home team, it is phenomenal, and it's not something I ever remember them doing in the past. So like the fact that they're doing that now, I think is part of that. Let's call it, put it under the umbrella of the program building that their new head coach is doing, and I absolutely love it.
Hmm. Yeah, no, I agree. And with that, tell me why um, Warren can't prevent Ursuline from taking a bunch of athletes. You- just wait. If Warren was to become a thing
Mm-hmm.
again, Ursuline's not. Ursuline
Yeah,
won't be, and Fitch will be missing one or two of their skill players every year. Also,
yeah. I guess the more I think about it, the more it is like kind of how the parochial schools all kind of pull from each other a little bit. How Iggy's down because Hoban's up, or like Eds is missing some. I'm assuming some guys that may have chosen to go to Eds have gone to Hoban in the last few years. Yada yada. Having Fitch and Ursuline and a couple other schools in that immediate area will probably help them out a lot more. The more I think about it, so yeah, your odds on that Hoban worse than Warren bet are sliding a lot worse, and you probably should have taken the bet and put up the money when I said plus 15,000.
yeah. I mean, again, Warren could fall on their face, and they could prove to be a failing steel mill town that never recovered, and they stink at everything forever. That absolutely could
Yeah,
happen. You know, Terrell could end up leaving Hoban, and then Mike Vrabel takes a job just to spite Walsh Jesuit because for some reason Walsh pisses him off within the next 5 years. and then then Hoban becomes the best team in the country. Like these things could happen, but I'm just saying I wouldn't be surprised if somehow Hoban and Warren did seem to get their program on the right track.
Yeah, no, that's it's definitely a lot more plausible now that you laid your case, and honestly, something I'm kind of excited for because you want, obviously, as a Massillon guy, you want to fill the schedule with good games, and you want your historic opponents to also, you want those current games to be good. So those two things kind of go hand in hand, and to have Massillon's, second most historic opponent ever in our storied history, like be kind of on the up and up again and be a pretty decent game would be really good for both programs on the whole, I think.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I would trade in an instant for Hoban and Warren to switch spots. If Warren was the perennial powerhouse, it's kind of just like things are becoming right in the world again.
Yeah.
Warren was never quite on the run that Hoban is now, but Warren was a very good team for a long time and plenty of spurts where they were a dominant team. So I would much rather see them be good. I'd much rather see McKinley be good. These teams are familiar with, but also the more, leaning towards that public school concept again.
Yeah. After Warren becomes a powerhouse again, we need to make sure McKinley is at least stable, I think would be a good way to put it. Then we can get Steubenville back on the schedule.
Hmm.
It kick the tires on if Niles is still a program, and then we can just get the All-American Conference back going again, baby.
Yeah, grab some of those old time teams used to play a lot. Um, I don't think it was a football conference, but get like Alliance, Barberton. Um, Man, I guess I was about to name off some Youngstown schools that don't even exist anymore. Um, but yeah, like it would be nice to have a decent, um, public school. You know, let's just call it a
Mm-hmm.
conference. That's not the Federal League. Federal League
Yep.
sucks.
Here, here.
Whether they're good at sports or not, they suck.
Well, it also helps that they are also not that great at sports.
Yeah, but yeah, I'd love to see a return of power to some public schools, and it's not impossible.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's like yes, the parochial schools have a slightly unfair advantage. The Hobans, Eds, Iggy's, Mullers, but there's nothing stopping McKinley from having a good program. There's nothing stopping Warren from having a good program. Like these things can happen. Um, it's not like they're losing all their kids to Hoban. Not to say they haven't lost any kids to Hoban, but um, they still have a talent pool to get kids from.
I mean, you know, Hoban didn't necessarily steal a Warren quarterback a couple years ago, but they did steal somebody from right down the road, so it probably wouldn't hurt to get a public school powerhouse back in the region and really keep the miles off of the high school kids' cars on their commute to school every day.
Yeah, I mean, driving from somewhere around the Warren area, let's just throw a dart at the board, like Austintown ish.
That's
Some
yeah, that's
some
about the Warrenish
somewhere,
area.
yeah, somewhere around Austintown, going to Hoban for driving to Hoban for school every day. But yeah,
So yeah, I like that take. I definitely saw a lot of potential on Friday night, we can call it, and other than that, I don't really have many comments on the game. I mean, yeah, we did run and clock them, and if this is the kind of program that's on the up and up, that's going to give them a little bit of juice for next year coming into the game, make it a little bit more personal, I guess, because one of the hallmarks of these, let's call them perennial powerhouse schools, is they take games personally. like Warren in the last few years, we have just absolutely pushed their shit in, no questions asked, and they just didn't seem to like come in with the juice year in, year out of like, yeah, you kicked our ass last year, we have a point to prove this time. And if so, next year, in my opinion, is going to be a barometer of, do they come into Paul Brown kind of juiced up, ready to go, or is it going to be the same old song and dance?
Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll see, and that's how you test the strength of a program, is being able to do it year in, year out, and bouncing back, playing on the road. So I guess we'll see. But yeah, that's all I had for Warren.
Yeah, no other comments. I mean, we got a running clock. We got the number twos in on offense and defense. Special teams looked fine. There might have been an offsides once. I don't know, but I feel like you can just say that every week. So, other than that, not an abundance of penalties from our side, I don't think. So got that kind of cleaned up a little bit. Nothing to worry about, which, goes into our conversation from last week of these guys are a bit of a lesser opponent. Talking with the kids at Sideliners, the vibe was they kind of knew who Warren was, so it was like we talked about last week. Can you walk into the game knowing you are the better team and still come out and perform like, you would expect them to or want them to, and they did.
Yeah.
So, that's really all I got. We can roll into film. Got a couple plays from Warren and a bunch of stuff to look at that team 8 miles east of us, and we can really get into it and start kicking off the festivities, huh, brother?
Let's do it.
All right, so just a couple plays from Warren. First one is a Big Mike highlight, but really just kind of encapsulates what our defense did to them all night, so I'll just let this one roll. Now, looks like it might have been going for the power read there. Yeah, going for the power read, but Big Mike bullies the center so hard, he throws the pulling guard off, and everybody else just gets so much penetration that the quarterback can't really make a decision, and you just get a nice little TFL minus 4 yards in the backfield.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, that's definitely a Guardian cap thing. He lied to me.
Which one?
Or nickel.
Our nickel? Well, I guess, yeah, that would make sense. Oh, yeah, that is a Guardian cap. Interesting. Thought when you asked me about that off air, you're talking about the quarterback because his head was frozen in a weird way that made it look larger. Whatever. I mean, not the first time we've had a guy in a Guardian cap. I think our starting center was last year, and he won us a state championship, so, it might be good luck to have one guy on the field with the Guardian cap on the side of the ball.
Andre Jones used to wear one.
He was our center, right, last year?
I was going to say like 4 years ago, but...
Oh, Andre.
Yeah.
Okay, I got confused because the guy that wore the Guardian cap was Andre Jones's brother. And I know that because I caught him in the gym the day of the state championship game, and we chatted a little bit, and I asked him about that, and he was like, yeah, Mom said he had to wear the Guardian cap or he couldn't play football.
Yeah, well, after getting your bell rung like 4 different times in your career.
I mean, hey, we had a guy on our team for at least like a week in the, 2-a-days that had like 12 concussions. 12 might be exaggerated, but he did have to quit football because of how many he had.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
He was
sells insurance now, I think.
Yeah, pyramid scheme, got it. But
I think he sells actual insurance also.
Oh, multifaceted individual. Good for him. Just glad he's got like a real job to fall back on. Anyway, so yeah, I think we've rolled through this enough times. Any other comments, or just Massillon just doing what we do?
Yeah, I mean, I think McConnell started at inside linebacker this week, right? So,
Yes.
a little bit worth noting. I think that's because number nine's out, right? Or at least he was that week. So I I think that's why McConnell got bumped inside. I
What number's McConnell?
or wait. So McConnell's 3, so he's not the one I'm looking at right now. That's the other
Yeah,
McConnell.
that's the McConnell clone.
Or
Almond.
not McConnell.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
not
Almond.
McConnell 13, Almond, who I did the same thing last week.
All right, hold on. Is McConnell wearing black sleeves? So I can't tell it's him. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
So you have McConnell and not McConnell with as your two inside backers.
That's number 1, correct? Right?
God damn it, Hank. All right, McConnell's 3, not McConnell's 1-3.
Okay, yeah, got it.
Now I can't 100% tell from this clip if that is McConnell or not, but I think it
No,
is.
that is absolutely not McConnell.
Well, it's not number 1. I can tell you that. If Tolles is out there playing middle linebacker,
I think we have him.
I miss so much.
I forgot he was number 1. Yeah, Toll.
Play that next clip.
All right, you know what? We're not going to solve this one. We're just going to get the fuck out of here. All right, next clip.
Might get a better angle on the play. Offense now. Okay.
Yeah. So this one was Gamble. He had a very big run for us. I think we got the ball back, and this was the first play after. Yeah, so they just got a touchdown. This is our first play back on offense. See if we could answer. Got a touchdown at the end of the first half. Made a long drive. I don't know. First time our offense touched the ball in a while. We needed to make an answer.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
First play, we come out. Hard to tell, but we're in a 4-wide set with the 2 receivers stacked on each side. And I was actually pleasantly surprised by the play call in the moment because I was absolutely expecting us to run like a stack smash play because that's really all we've seen the last couple weeks out of the stack look. And then we come out and run the ball. Now, watching the clip, we broke this down last week. This is just we'll call it light power because essentially it's the one where the backside guard pulls for the play side linebacker and everybody else kind of down blocks while your play side tackle just kicks out the end himself. But actually looking at it from this angle, they have 7 guys in the box for what is ostensibly 5 blockers. Nobody's being read, nothing. And also on that, as a quick aside, we talked about a power play last week when we had when the defense had one more blocker, when we had defenders, so we just had the backside tackle climb for the backside linebacker and left the end unblocked. We ran that same play earlier in the game, and turns out we're not just leaving that guy unblocked, we're actually reading him because Slaughter pulled it and had like a 20-something yard run. So just because we're not like running the ball through the quarterback this year, quite like we were last year, we still have that in the back pocket because Slaughter is, contrary to what he looks like, still very sneaky athletic and is quite the capable ball carrier when we need him to be. So he's still got that in him. Definitely another little facet of our offense that teams have to prepare for. So, and something I wanted to talk about earlier during our Warren breakdown, but I forgot about it completely. So here we are now. I saw my shot. I took it. Anyway, we have 5 blockers for 7 defenders, and I think this play kind of encapsulates Warren's defense on the night.
Yes, I mean 5 on 7, and it's really less than that.
Yeah.
It's the right tackle. I mean, I understand he's doing his job, but it ends up being we really only have 4 blockers.
Yeah,
working.
So looking at Warren's defense here, and I cut off the clip because obviously it's super zoomed in. Stole this off of the huddle, like Massillon Warren game recap film, and for some reason every play was like zoomed in like this for no particular reason. Go ahead, make a joke about Massillon Telepro handling the huddle film this week. But so they come out and they're running. I don't know if this is like supposed to be a bear front and the backers just walked out a tad, or if it's like a tight front. But they have 3 guys tucked inside the tackles on the line. Inside backer walked up. 2 more kind of play side. One's just like hanging out, not quite knowing what to do. A walked up linebacker at the point of attack, and then a half-assed tweener apex player between, our right tackle and the 2 receivers that you can't see.
Henry.
Yes.
I 100% understand that you are just talking to yourself right now.
Yeah.
But the people that can see the screen can see the screen. And the people that can't see the screen have no clue what the hell you're saying right now.
Wonderful.
No one's following. I mean, every word you said within itself.
Yeah.
But having somebody try to paint that picture while you're just rattling through it is not happening.
So I think it's when we like really truly started making this show on YouTube is essentially when I stopped thinking about the audience and I just started treating this as a therapy session for myself of getting all this bullshit outside of my head and get the inside thoughts on the outside so they can stay on the outside. So, yeah, I'm probably going to keep doing that, but I will stop painting the picture currently. And I actually kind of appreciate you stopping me there because, yeah, we went off the rails a while ago. Anyway, what I was getting to is they end up, I didn't notice this until just now watching it, they end up running a stunt with those 3 inside guys, which I've never really seen people run a stunt with a tight front before like this. And the defense's left side 4-eye just takes himself out of the play entirely, and that's why our right tackle is just blocking grass.
He had a shot at making a play there if he was ready for it.
Yeah, I mean, well, I guess besides the fact that he wasn't even ready for the snap because he was like, 3 beats late on getting out of his stance.
Yeah, but I mean, he does like snap right over into A-gap, and Gamble ends up going backside. But
yeah, well, technically front side of the run play called, but anyway. So as a defensive lineman, especially in high school, when you have a stunt called, that's not, especially a stunt like that, that's not a run play for your defense. You are full on expecting pass blocking and a gap to open up and to get a free rush at the quarterback. So not only is he late, I think when he snaps over and sees a handoff happening and somebody else having the ball besides Slaughter, he just blue screens and is ostensibly lost in this sauce in the worst way possible.
Yeah. I mean, they had a chance of filling that, which, they had 2 extra guys. They should be able to fill it.
Yeah.
But, that linebacker has to come up and fill that gap, and then they're in a decent spot. But, yeah, I understand we're up 31-7. And it's nice to be able to run against this. Makes your line see stuff they're not used to seeing, makes your running back, have to try to go make a play. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, if a team ever gives us cover 0 against Twin Stacks,
yeah,
I'm slanging something.
This is one of those definitely wasn't a check with me play calls. This is 1st and 10. We just got the football. Let's just get a run play, get the drive started type deal. And I mean, what is essentially their Mike linebacker comes down and fills hard against the guard who actually adjusts pretty well to the pull. But their right side inside-ish backer is just lost in the worst way possible and then gets his ass beat on top of that. But yeah, this was something when I was, because not a lot of guys really put many highlights on here on Huddle this week worth talking about per se, just because we like dominated them in such a fashion, and it's just like, okay, well, we just won this play. Like, what's worth talking about? And when I saw this and actually counted up, and we ran against this play was against a 7-man box, I had to throw this on here. And it just, Warren's defense gets worse every time I watch this roll through.
Yeah.
So with that, we will finish off the Warren highlights on another big run. So here, we got the 2s in, got the, they had just scored again to take away the running clock we had on them earlier in the game. But we still come out with the 2s, and our sophomore running back, who's seen a little bit of playing time and got a couple Wildcat snaps himself. So, we have some faith in him as a serious player. Comes out, just nice little base run in our offense nowadays. Lead stretch outside zone. Definitely not something we're used to seeing in years past. Comes out and decides he wants a running clock back and just makes that shit happen.
Yeah. Individually, this defense is just not great. Maybe they'll get there in the future. I'm watching this like outside backer just get way too lateral and then get pushed out of the way. The play side backer, for some reason, loses ground on this. He's like dropping, and then just lost, untouched. He doesn't get touched. The play side backer does not get touched, and somehow he ends up 10 yards downfield on a run right at him. Safety throws nicely and then dies. Oh my God.
Yeah. I mean,
our left guard, left guard, look, just has his right hand like we're
Yep. Yeah.
Nice.
Not only does that
we're reaching, we're locking out, nice, looking for more work. Wham! I love that. Lock him out with one arm and then go find somebody else to hit also.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
That is something you throw on the highlight tape, kid, because whoo, buddy. The college coach is watching this. I hope they don't look at Warren's defense too long, because just watching that guy himself in a vacuum, oh my God, that is like, you drool over that.
Mm-hmm. Hey, I'm guessing that's supposed to be a double team. Center doesn't really get there.
Yeah, you're trying to, outside zone double teams are so weird, because it's, say if I'm let's see here.
What I love about the left guard is, he's trying to do his like double team.
Yeah.
And he's trying to get back up to this play side backer.
Mm-hmm.
Accidentally runs over a safety, but keeps his eyes on that play side backer the whole time.
Yep.
Like he knows where he needs to get to. Get up to that play side backer that's backpedaling for some reason. Run over a safety. Go find the play side backer.
Yeah, the double teams on outside zone are a fucking doozy. Especially if it... I mean, yeah, it is a base run in our offense now. I have some questions on some holdups on it being a base run in a high school offense if you're not, putting together the rest of your offense around it. But, say if I'm that left guard and I got a 3-tech outside my shoulder, the guy that's supposed to be taking over on the double team is the center. And he's supposed to... What's supposed to happen is you're supposed to reach that 3-tech, get him turned. The center will come in, push you off of him with his hips, and take over that so you can climb to the backer that's also scraping over top. I can tell you when you're practicing against it, it's that play side backer is generally not dropping back into coverage watching the run happen. But it's not an easy task, and we just make it look like it is on this play.
I still wish our fullback would be a little bit more aggressive, but, It is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, tight ends.
Once you get out, once you get out into space, like you just kind of have to get in the way, and he does that.
Yeah, so left tackle is engaged with the guy. You're not trying to kill your own player. I mean, I don't know if they actually draw this up as, a fullback help double team on that play side end, or if he's just supposed to be out there as a lead guy. But he does enough, gets a little hand on him, helps turn it. That's the thing with, we talk about it more with like a back working chip help with certain tackles where they don't like it because it just messes with them. And that might bleed over a little bit into blocking on run plays as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean your Big Ten left tackle doesn't need help on this play against this team.
Yeah.
Um. So, but yeah, I mean once he gets out in space, he does a job there. You don't want to whiff in space, just kind of get in the way.
Mm-hmm.
What we always talk about when I talk about receivers. Just like
Really gets
this is what Giorgio Jackson down here at the bottom. So I like what he does. He kind of gets out there. I don't like that he's always looking in the backfield. But
trying to see where the ball is going, I guess.
yeah, but that's when the corner runs right by you when you're not looking at him. But I like the way that he does it is kind of let the corner pick where he wants to go and then just wash him out.
Mm-hmm.
If you try to get out there and dance with a corner and actually lock him up, hit him in his chest, square him up, it just doesn't work. Let him decide where he wants to go. He wants to go inside, fine. Wash him inside. The running back knows to run off your ass.
Yep.
And that's how I love receivers to block right there. It doesn't have to be overly physical. You just have to stay between that guy and the ball carrier. Let him go inside, get hands on, boom, that's it. That's all I would ever ask from a receiver on a situation like that.
Yeah, does his job, does it good. It meets Rob's standards. And my only last little point was our fullback gets a bit of a low-key 3 different blocks on this play. He helps with the tackle on the end, and then also kind of gets 2 different guys up here in space to really seal off that lane for our running back and, let him take it in there for 6 and get the game over with a lot, when it needed to be. So with that, we can turn the page over into the most wonderful time of the year in Massillon, Ohio, and get into some McKinley film. So first one I got is, I believe, a huddle recap over their win against, I'm pretty sure, Lake. Hey, nailed it. So they handled Lake pretty easily, but I like with this, you get to see a lot of their offensive snaps. First thing that really stood out to me on this one was they're running empty, and Lake is playing a drop 8 on cover 1, cover 3.
I bet you that's I was like, I bet you that's cover 3.
Yeah. It was.
I don't need to know anything about Lake to tell you they're probably running cover 3.
Yeah, the only thing that got me was I didn't really watch the defense outside of the line until that last little roll through, and everybody's kind of stacked up over everyone. McKinley's quarterback could scramble a little bit, maybe cover 1, because why the hell else would you run drop 8 cover 3 against empty? But
because he does scramble a little bit, but he doesn't really run.
Yeah. But by God, they did it. And my first takeaway when I was even recording this for the show was that quarterback is not going to have this kind of time in the pocket when they try to run empty against us. I can guarantee you that.
You don't think we're going to drop 9, drop 10?
Doubtful, and even when we do, I am fairly certain that if we just rush one guy, that one guy's probably going to be Big Mike, and he's still going to get penetration to get this quarterback off a spot. Nice little counter action, hitting up the backside A gap. They got a pretty decent run menu. Here, just power hitting up the backside, really C gap, which is saying something. But this one, a play you don't see very often in high school, is the quick screen back to the single receiver side in a two back set. But watching some of their highlights, they run the hell out of this play. RPO game, just a quick little bubble screen, but pretty decent blocking on the perimeter. But what you would expect for a Federal League matchup.
I noticed that the receivers cross-blocked on that screen. Which, helps get your angles.
Mm-hmm.
But as soon as a team that starts running like cover 3 cloud,
yeah,
I don't know. I don't know if you can think of any teams that like to run a lot of cover 3 cloud against trips.
I mean, I don't know. That's not something you see a lot in high school. Definitely not something you see a lot in Massillon, or definitely not have been a big talking point on this show because one guy's an X's and O's nerd.
But yeah, that's how receivers die.
Yeah, when you're getting off coverage like this, it's a pretty great way to actually block it because your number one, I know people can see it, but your number one comes down and just takes out the apex, and your number two wraps around him. You're essentially, trap blocking with your receivers, for an oversimplification. And, you see that shit at every level, and it works quite well. I didn't know you skinnies had it in you, but...
Well, it makes it easier on them, in my opinion.
Oh, absolutely.
It turns it into a one-way go.
Mm-hmm. But...
I talk about how hard it is to square somebody up in space. Well, if you're coming from that angle, you're trying to coerce them into going the opposite direction, which works out perfectly for them right here. The inside guy goes to the inside, the outside guy goes to the outside. Just seal them in, wash them out.
Mm-hmm.
Boom. I mean, it's much easier if you take the proper angle. I don't love number two's angle, the second receiver, but it's because he thinks that corner's dropping.
Yep.
But I would rather take a bad angle and still get 5 yards.
Mm-hmm.
Than, I would rather assume he's coming up hard than assume he's dropping back.
Yeah, it's what I've talked about in the past of, as a center, blocking back on like a 3-tech when your backside guard's pulling on power, you need to take your angle of where he's going to be, not where he is. Same concept here.
Yeah, because if that corner comes up just a little bit quicker, he's right behind.
Mm-hmm. Now,
if you play it too shallow, now you're kind of in that position where you're squared up with him again, which is the whole point of running this way, so you're not squared up with
mm-hmm.
him. But at least then you're squared up with him 10 yards downfield.
Right.
Which you'd much rather that happen than have the guy run right past you and blow the play up for no gain.
Now, I will say this, I know it's not on purpose, and it's probably not how you draw it up, but it does set up beautifully for that fake bubble and go, and you just release that number two on what is basically a wide fade.
Mm-hmm.
And he is just a golden.
Yep, I agree. Little roll trips into the boundary.
Mm-hmm.
Scramble drill.
It's I've seen them better angles of this play in different clips, but it's basically like kind of a modified flood concept.
Yeah, is that a curl by the one?
Yeah, it's either like a curl or a comeback-ish type out, maybe. But
Yeah.
yeah, you see a lot of teams treat numbers
So
into
like
the
what?
boundary a lot different than you would to the field. So maybe that's what they were just on the scouting report for Lake this week. But quarterback, obviously not there, makes a great play of making the backside guy that you're never blocking up on rollout protection anyway miss. And
Yeah, what I don't like about it is I just I don't think they needed a roll. You can see he throws a decent enough pass that
mm-hmm.
like they could have ran standard protection for that.
Yeah, especially into the boundary like that.
That's what I'm saying. Into the boundary, they're so tight right here. I mean, you're still probably running it with the idea of just hit that out route, boom, take the 3 yards.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, why they ran rollout here, I don't know. Maybe they were having other issues with pass pro on the night, but way to make something out of nothing, kid. And speaking of making something out of nothing, this might be something we see on the night of, or I guess on the day of the game, considering we, first time in maybe a hot second, we don't have a certified dude edge rusher, but McKinley's still running that full slide pass pro. Running back just completely whiffs on the end.
Yeah.
It's not technically an end, which really makes me question why the tackle just didn't block him at all. I mean, he's lined up in the B gap. Like, if this is full slide, everyone's sliding right. You block the guy down in the B gap. Block the guy in the fucking B gap.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
Because I mean, I just kind of watched this roll through one time when I recorded it for the pod, but
Mm-hmm.
when I first watched it, I thought, oh, and or running back just whiffs on the end, and now seeing it, you have a tight front that drop 8 cover. I'm assuming cover 3 again behind it, and
3. Yeah. So here's my question for you.
yeah.
McKinley has been running this, slide away from the running back for years, right?
Yep.
Would you rather bring a guy, would you rather bring like a backer off the end? Would you rather attack the running back side or try to come off the edge of the slide side?
Oh, I'm attacking the running back and pass pro all day. He is. Running backs are running backs first. They are dudes with balls in their hands. Massillon, we have been blessed with either the ability of coaching up running backs in pass pro for years or having running backs that are just absolute studs in pass pro. Now, we almost never run full slide outside of heavy play action sets, but that's not a job we're going to ask our running backs to do. That being said, if I know you're going to be sliding away from the running back, I can just draw up a little blitz that has 2 guys coming off the edge.
Yeah.
And, you got the running back is probably going to take the inside of the 2 rushers, and then the outside guy is just going to come free. Or I can just make sure my stud defensive end, is in what every offensive coordinator in the world is going to call a mismatch with him on the running back and pass pro, and either have him put the hezzy hay or just run through the running back's fucking chest, and I'm going to attack him all day.
what's stopping you from just lining up a wide 9 over the right tackle and bringing a linebacker off the edge?
The only thing stopping me is it's not their only pass pro that they would run, and the fact that I can't guarantee that's what's going to happen, especially with a running back. At 3rd and 7, they're probably passing it, but I would probably have that in the playbook as these obvious pass situation mismatch specials, but it's not something you can just sit on or roll with all day and expect them to always slide away from the running back in this full slide shit.
Yep.
Oh my god, they ran full slide with a double move too. Hold on, what are these? Wow. That's all hitch and go.
Yeah. And of course, the guy that ends up getting open catching the ball like runs the ugliest route ever.
And
shout out that cover 3 corner somehow messing that up.
That was going to be my next point because it's fucking cover 3. Kid, your assignment is not the hitch. It is the deep third. Cover the deep third.
Yeah, I had like 8 interceptions freshman year from that right there.
Of not covering the hitch and go as a cover 3 corner?
Oh yeah, my job was to drop. I dropped.
Sometimes it's that simple. Yikes. Scrum, ball pops out. Not much worth talking about. This one, a little quads action into the boundary. And it looks like they run that bubble and go with the switch release by the two guys.
All right. Hold on, I gotta see it from the start. Can you stop it on the formation?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So you got quads into the boundary. Your number 4 is running what looks more like an out than a bubble. But it looks like your number 1 and number 2 take that, switch blocking path, hesitate a little bit. Quarterback even gives a little pump. And you have your number 1 running right up the seam.
Doesn't help that like lined up wrong.
You're going to have to be more specific.
All right, you see this like number 6 guy that looks like he's coming in motion, but for the defense?
Yeah.
He's literally just motioning to the other side of the field as the ball's getting snapped.
Yeah, that's what I want my defender to do against quads is get back to the single side when I have functionally 2 guys overside that receiver already. Over top.
Yeah, I mean, they got 2 backers jumping the same out route because, they don't have match drop discipline. And then once you get a guy in space,
Yep. I mean, hey, you throw the bubble a couple times on the night. You get into a formation where you're expecting the flat to be attacked. Even give him a little pump.
Yeah, I mean, basically you got slot fade with the number 1 running like a bang 8, where none of the linebackers drop, and it's against cover 3, and you go, yeah, that's a pretty big void.
Yeah.
Because I mean, against quads, that deep safety is going to be deep. and so is the corner.
Mm-hmm.
So you just run this little, sit, bang 8. Like, if the linebackers don't drop at all, that's a huge void. They find it.
Yep.
And then, a late cornerback in space against McKinley's receivers.
It turns out about how you would expect it to.
Yeah, that backside corner just drops. And somehow he's the closest guy to the backside cover 3 corner ends up being the closest guy to this catch on the play side.
Oh, if that's not an indictment on Lake, I don't know what is. So yeah, final score: McKinley ended up putting hanging 35 on cover 3 from 1967, taking a page out of Wakefield's playbook. And speaking of taking a page out of Wakefield's playbook, we have McKinley attacking Wakefield's playbook. So this one is pretty neat. You have your modern day spread triple option. Oops. Thought I was holding shift, holding control, and apparently control takes you back to the beginning.
The good old inside leverage cover 3 corners for Wakefield.
It's really just something comforting about seeing, the same coverage run for the last 60 years in Stark County, huh?
It's just so ugly. His corners hate him. They get left on islands in just the worst way of doing it. It doesn't help that none of them look like they'd be able to cover anybody, even if you gave them the most advantageous position possible.
Yeah.
But just leaving dudes on an island. It's like, am I running man or am I running cover 3? Which one is it? And Wakefield goes, oh, but they're gonna run the ball 99% of the time anyway. You're fine. And then it's like, no, coach, they don't. They throw the ball. Phooey. Nobody throws the ball.
Yeah, that's that new age hippy dippy football. It's gonna circle back around. This is just the whole throwing the football thing's just a trend. Hey, you might leave your corners in the worst position possible, but at least you have a safety at 12 yards, not covering anything. Little slant flat to the field, which is actually, not only is it a good man beater, but a pretty decent cover 3 beater as well.
Not a big difference against this cover 3.
Yep. I mean, quite frankly, I think most passing concepts would work pretty well against this cover 3. Little switch verts crosser.
And the corner, you have one job. I can tell you what Wakefield wants you to do here without ever being coached by Wakefield.
Is it cover the flat?
Unless they modernized and they wanted that linebacker to run with the switch, which that doesn't seem like a Wakefield thing to do. That corner needs to bail and stay on the outside receiver.
Mm-hmm.
And then the corner picks up the post. But no, you just run with your guy, and then God, I hate Perry so much.
Fuck McKinley and Perry too.
And Perry too. God.
How's this for a modernized Wakefield team? Running empty. I mean, granted, it's 3rd and 21, and you're down 14 points.
It's empty, but they kept tight end in there?
A little wing back. Yeah.
No, yep, you gotta have yourself a wing back. 3-man rush. They somehow all being one-on-ones.
Yeah. Not great. Just not great. Just that same little X receiver screen. And about what you would expect from a Wakefield defense. But hey, at least they can get the handoffs right, right?
Quarterback makes the tackle. Nice.
Yeah, props to White Boy from chasing this down from the backside. I know this defender was getting roasted in film the next day for this.
Perry's not really known for their sideline to sideline speed.
Yeah, Perry and speed in the same sentence is like trying to put Louisville and tolerance in the same sentence as well.
They had somebody that came down pretty hard, but it takes more than one. Yeah, I mean, high safety comes down and wants to get into it. Just kind of a bad angle. Running back, or I guess receiver, bounces it a little bit more than the safety expected him to because of that other guy getting watched out of the way.
Yeah.
But I mean, hey, your high cover 3 safety wants to come down and make a play.
Well,
I'll take that.
you know, that's all well and good until you hit the post behind it off a hard jet play action like we did in 20.
Yeah.
But, 429 yards of offense against a cover 3 straight out of the pre-Vietnam War. You know, not exactly what you want to write home about. So next up, I believe these are individual highlights from a couple defensive players. The first one being from Dior Gardner, who plays a little bit of defense and offense.
Yes, he's a really good player. He's been starting for them for a couple years now.
Mm-hmm. I mean, here it definitely helps that nobody actually wanted to engage and block him.
Yeah, a little miscommunication between the tight, or I guess wing back and running back.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like they're going for full slide pass pro, and I'm putting this on number 5 completely because it looks like essentially everybody's running full slide left and running backs just picking up the right side. And then 5, for some reason, just decides he's not part of the slide anymore.
Yeah.
But hey, when the other team makes a mental mistake, can he take advantage of that? And oh boy, did. This one, I love it. This is how you pass pro, kid. You know, takes on the bull rush of 85 on defense, which tells me all I need to know about that one. But kid gets in front of his hips, and
Who is this? Is this Ignatius?
yes, I believe so. And I'm just saying that completely based on uniform because this is their week 1 through 3 highlights, I think. or at least Garner's week 1 through 3 highlights. But that's a good lesson right there. Never get in front of your hips when engaging a blocker.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's a good player. I think we all know that.
Yeah, dude's a dude. So, with that, I think the only thing we have left is Dante McClellan, who is currently committed to Mizzou and is probably their best guy on defense. Sam linebacker.
Yeah, another really good player. Pretty sure he was like an Ohio State recruit for a while. I mean, he's been getting attention from a lot of big schools. So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think they played Warren week 1, and you can tell it's a Warren week 1 team because here's your it's not full slide pass pro, but here's your put a linebacker just on the outside in a wide 9 and let him run free.
You know how I can tell it's a week 1 game?
Sonny?
No, it still has the Hall of Fame logo at midfield.
Ah. Well. Little of column A, little of column B.
Because one of the other clips you played had a super faded, ugly Bulldog logo at center field.
Ugly Bulldog logo is a bit redundant, but you get it. I can appreciate
this.
This
is Avon.
Yeah. How many of his interceptions in this clip so far have just come off of horrible balls that the quarterback's throwing.
Yeah, but it still shows how rangy he is in his drops.
Oh yeah, like not taken away from his play at all. Just very much a.
So there's the Bulldog logo, except for it's not as faded in this clip.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's just a really bad camera they showed the first time we saw this.
No, it was absolutely faded at some points.
Yeah, I mean this Avon team is pretty good.
Could have fooled me by these highlights.
Hank doesn't think Avon's good because they blitzed us the whole scrimmage.
No, my overall opinion on Avon is that they are a good team. I think they came out and played more to beat Massillon than really to be better in the scrimmage, and that, is a bit of a red flag for me. But also just in these clips, they did not look like a good football team. They could be a good football team on the whole. Just the sample size I've seen from these highlights, they didn't look like a good team. That's all I was saying.
By far the best team we've seen on any film against McKinley.
Oh, absolutely. But, that's why these are the highlights for McKinley and not for Avon or anybody else they've played. So, need to see anything else from this boy? Because, he's rangy. He's all over the field. He's a dude on their defense, but we just rolled through it once, and that's all I got for film tonight.
I'm good then.
All right, we will get on out of film and get into our McKinley preview. Alrighty, boys and girls, it is Christmas time in Massillon, Ohio. Had to break out the, Great American Rivalry Series champion hat for this one. Rob, do you have one of these?
I do not know.
Oh, that's crazy, dude. Couldn't be me.
Yeah, they didn't give them out when I played.
Could not imagine that being me, not beating McKinley or getting the belt back in my time. But hey, that's somebody else's cross to bear, not mine.
Yeah, it's. I mean, obviously you want to be able to beat your rival, but just playing a team that's so bad like the one you faced, that's does it still feel good? Like knowing that you played a very horrible McKinley team. I don't.
It felt so good. We had to do it twice.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
not.
In order for it to feel as good as one normal one.
I mean, you wouldn't even know what that feels like. So I could try to explain to you how good it feels. Um,
I was on a team that beat McKinley,
um,
a very good McKinley team.
were you on a team that beat McKinley twice though? That's in one season, because definitely not a lot of guys can say that.
Yeah, very rarely are they so bad, but still in a region where they can make the playoffs that it happens. I don't.
Well, it's not like they just waltzed in. That we just waltzed in as the number one seed, and they came in as the number 8, and we played them back to back. They actually made it. You know, they don't just put the scrubs up in Kent State, if we ignore actual Kent State proper. But that's neither here nor there. But you don't just like make it to a week 2 playoff game when it was still just 5 teams in the playoffs, or 5 games in the playoffs, and like be a trash team. So we just get to brag a little bit about beat McKinley twice in 1 year, getting the bell back, getting that monkey off our back. Did I do absolutely anything to contribute to that team? No, I did not, but I still got a hat, and I'm still going to brag about it.
How about it?
So, anywho, McKinley in 2024, currently coming into this game at 6-3. One against, we'll call it up and coming Warren. Week 1, 26-19. Dropped one to Avon in week 9-0 Avon, mind you. Week 2, 21-14. Lost to what we called Iggy in the film room. Detroit Cass Tech out of Michigan, who are currently 6-2. 20-3. Beat a down bad Glen Oak 35-6. What has become a very Perry. Where are they at? 38-7. Beat a 6-3 Green 26-17. Beat Hoover in overtime 28-21. Beat Lake 35-21, and then just dropped an absolute stinker to Jackson last week, 20-7. Now, I will say, Jackson, at least on paper, not looking that bad this year. If you would have asked me what the record was, I would have told you 2-6, 3-5, but they're actually 6-3 this year, so less bad than my initial reaction was to hearing the news.
They're still not any good.
Well, no, not at all. But I thought they were worse, is kind of my point on that one, I guess. But, McKinley, they are, number 3 in their region currently, number 20 in Division 1, and the number 52 school in Ohio. So, they might just be 6-3 this year, but still, at least looking at where they're ranked at, could be worse. Could be worse. So with that, let's take a look at their roster, Robert.
Yep. So up front, let me see. Wrong one.
Attaboy.
Yeah, I just work with what you give me, and you gave it to me backwards. Up front, decent sized line. They can move some stuff around also. 6'5", 260, 6'4", 280, 6', 240, 6'3", 280, 6'3", 290. So pretty good size there, but I did see that they move their players around a little bit, and they can have a line that's smaller than what I just listed out there at one time. That is junior, senior, junior, senior, senior. That includes Dior Garner. 6'4", 280. Huh, I didn't realize he was 6'4". Good for him.
What?
But yeah, he's committed to Bowling Green as a defensive lineman. But
Uh,
Left tackle has an offer from Kentucky.
yeah, pretty decent. Logan Hayes, number 55. The double-digit numbers on the offensive line, or the repeat digit numbers on the offensive line, something about it doesn't look as good. But Logan Hayes, nice, strong name there. I like it. Pretty decent across the board. You got Logan Hayes, Dior Gardner, Jamaris Owens, Antonio Krager, Brandon Early. You got Hayes, Garner, Owens, Krager, Early. Pretty solid. Definitely one of the better named offensive lines we've seen this year.
Yep. They do have a tight end, 6'3", 235.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see here. Receivers, as you can imagine, pretty athletic. Some good size to go with it. 6'2", 200, 5'10", 170, 6'1", 165. And they rotate. They use a lot of different receivers out there. So those are the ones listed as their starters, but they'll use 5, 6, 7 different receivers out there.
Yeah. You would think the sophomore 5'10", 170, it's like, okay, he's got a little bit of time to put some weight on. He can fill in a little bit to be a pretty decently sized guy. But 6'1", 165 as a junior, that's decent frame, but not a lot of mass on that one that's a little bit smaller than what you would expect from a school this size. But, 11, 19, number 3. 3's the kind of smaller junior, but DJ Britt, just something about that, and it might be because there's an NFL player named Kenny Britt just popping in my head, but that is a pretty solid receiver name right there for me.
Yep. The backfield is a little bit more worth talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Quarterback, 6'5", 210. I believe he's one of the kids that transferred from Texas. Is that right?
Yes, so.
So they're one running back that I guess we're familiar with both of them, but Nino Hill, he's been a good running back for them for a couple years now. 6 foot 200. He's committed to play football at Buffalo. He ended up sticking it out at McKinley after rumors of him looking at a few other schools along the way. Their other running back, senior 5'11", 185, Jamar Johnson, he transferred from Glen Oak. Both running backs were all Ohio last year.
Mm-hmm.
They're both very good players.
Yeah. They're dudes. You saw in the film that their quarterback, he can throw a pretty good ball. He's a lot more in the Slaughter archetype of you can see he has the juice to run it if he has to, but he's a lot more apt to scramble to throw the ball than he is to just try to run it. The only thing that really stood out that we didn't quite go over is the fact that they have 5 different guys listed as fullback tight end types, which tells me that they have, that's a position they use quite a bit, but they don't really have a certified dude there. So they like to run that offense with an extra blocker, but they don't have anybody that's really stepped up and took that spot or, has come out as an absolute stud. So something to take advantage of, because those are guys you're going to see matched up a lot with linebackers or defensive ends, and I think we're pretty set at those positions, so might see a little bit of a mismatch there. Overall, their offense, they're pretty even split between the run and the pass. They like to use a little bit of RPOs. They like to push the ball downfield a bit, but they like to run the hell out of the ball. You have, your staples, your power, your counter, your zone schemes, but then they can dress the stuff up a little bit. We saw that triple option that they ran. So they have and as well as some auxiliary runs, jet sweep, tackle pull, that kind of thing. So they have a pretty decent playbook there. It's not just, it's not like we talked about earlier with what we might have expected Warren to be, that of just lining up your best kid at running back and just, hey, go make, or at quarterback and, hey, go make a play, kid. It's a pretty decent system they have, and they have the juice to run it.
Yeah, and they do really love running those screens as well. On the defensive line, 6'3", 235, 6'1", 290, 6'4", 280. Pretty good group there. Both of the two of the players are Bowling Green offers. Dior Garner is committed there, like we mentioned, but their other defensive end has an offer to go there.
And he's got a name to match the number. You know, you see those low-digit numbers. 18, not quite what I want to see on my defensive line, but Kevon McNeil, K''Vune, is absolutely a stud DN name and something you need to look out for.
Yeah, I mean, Kevon McNeil, Zayshawn Murray, Dion Garner, it matches. It matches. They're, good players up front, and they have that special defensive line name to go with it. You kind of want your defensive line to have a little flash to them, right? Yeah. Either you're a 350-pound, double team eater, or you got some splash to you.
Yep, and they got the splash.
And these guys got splash. Yep. Linebackers, 6'2", 210, 5'11", 195, 5'8", 205. And that includes their star player, Dante McClellan. Like we mentioned, he's committed to Mizzou. Showed some really good highlights on film that we watched. Just expect to see him all over the field.
Last week I made a bit of a fuss over Warren's linebacker numbers. This one might be worse. All right, Dante McClellan, number 9. He's a dude. He's your Sam linebacker, plays in space, can play down on the line. He's allowed to wear what he wants. But then you have 15, 22, and 6. You have 15 and 22 up the middle. That's my quarterback room right there. Absolutely not. God awful. We need to do something about these inside linebackers wearing low numbers because this cannot keep happening. It is an atrocity and an affront to the football gods, and they should be punished justly.
Well, run right at them and punish them justly. Safety, 6'2", 200, 5'11", 175. Let's see here. Senior, junior. The one is Demir McClellan. He'll rotate between corner and safety depending on who they play. Then corners, 5'11", 155, 5'11", 165. So not a whole lot of size and not very active in the run game.
Yeah, your safeties number 11 and 10. That's fine, I guess. They have a backup safety listed, Lance Long. I'm always a big fan of alliteration, but a safety wearing 29 just seems 29 is one of those like you are a backup kid. So props to him for picking the right number. But my boy Brian Ingram wearing 20 is a corner. That just does not look right. I need a single-digit guy out there because that tells me he knows he's a dude, and I need that kind of delusional confidence in my corners that no matter what happens in front of them, they're going to get back up the next play and play it. You pick number 20, absolutely horrible, don't like it, throw at him all game. And you know where he's going to line up because we have him listed as a left side cornerback, so they don't flip the corners at all to what the offense is throwing at him. So I'm just lining up Carter there all game, running deep balls, deep go balls, comebacks, curls, post, dig, don't care. My boy is getting burnt on Saturday.
Is that based off your film that you watched, or just because he's wearing number 20?
Just because he's wearing number 20.
Yeah, I figured.
That and only that. Couple other things of note is they do have a bunch of guys that go both ways. We already talked about my boy Dior. He starts on the offensive and defensive line. They got their safety, Keith Quincy, is listed as their starting X receiver. That, let's say, Dante McClellan. He is their free safety, number 10. Gets a lot of time playing receiver as well. So let's see here. And then, yeah, okay, Keith Quincy, he also rotates in a corner a bit too. So, something you can always take advantage of are these guys really in shape to play 4 quarters of two-way football, because if you're playing him in those spots, it means you need him in those spots. And, it's like we talked about with our running back number 5. Why am I blanking on his name? I'm so bad at this sometimes.
Yes, you are.
Can you help me out here? Throw me a life raft.
He has an older brother.
And I can just see him taking counter right up the A-gap against McKinley in 21 when we really put him in at full-time running back. And I am just completely blanking on the names.
Lennox.
Thank you so much. Yeah, so, like we talk about with Lennox, in those gotta-have-it moments against big teams, you're going to have your studs play both ways. And while I have faith in our strength and conditioning program that we can do that, my question is, do these guys have that in place that they can play 4 quarters of two-way football and still be the dude in the fourth quarter that they were in the first? But overall on defense, they base out of a cover 4, 3-4 look, similar personnel-wise to us, but they employ it very differently. They like that their defensive ends to be head up on the tackles a lot more than we do. We kind of run a modified under front where they are more of a true odd front, but they will mix it up a little bit, walk down their outside linebacker. Dante McClellan is a wide 9 while having that guy true over a tackle inside of him. And also just some basic even fronts, but they will throw in a little bit of man coverage here and there. So it'll be a fun matchup. I'm pretty sure defensively overall their structure is similar to what it was last year, and we beat them 35-0 with it. Our team was very different last year, but it helps that we have a lot of that same coaching experience coming back from last year that, we might have a better idea of what we could take advantage of come this Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, only so much changes year in, year out with any team that you play. So, I mean, obviously this has always been a really big game for us, marked on our schedule. Doesn't matter, what their record is. But yeah, I mean, this is a decent McKinley team. Probably one of the better ones we've seen in a while, at least on paper. So, that we've been scouting them all year and watching film and training specifically for this week. So, obviously it's a really big deal that goes without saying. So, I'm sure we could take advantage of them running a similar system that they ran last year, but at the same time, they can mix it up this week, trying to catch us off guard. And, I think we're prepared for that as well.
Yeah. I don't really have much else to add as far as scouting goes for the game itself, but, maybe we can talk a little bit about the pregame festivities, what we got cooking up. The stuff the fans actually care about. The game is just a side piece to everything else that happens on Saturday, right?
Yeah, I mean, more or less.
So, let's see here. You're wearing a nice, snazzy new BlackSwarm t-shirt printed by yourself, who's been cooking up a couple things in the lab there to give out. Do we have any better idea of how we're going to give those out on Saturday? Are we going to make people come to us? Or are we going to hike around, try and give stuff out? What's the plan here?
Yeah, I mean, it might be a little bit of both. I kind of figured we would just feel that out as it goes. Yeah, I wouldn't mind wandering around. If we plan on doing, kind of like trivia or, something like that, it might be more conducive to doing it not at our tailgate. So, maybe wandering around is the better idea. But yeah, I mean, the idea is to give away some t-shirts. I'll have a decent amount of them. I think they're pretty much all going to be black. So I'm wearing kind of like a tan one right now. I have a dark gray one, a light gray one, a black one, kind of as like examples as demo shirts. Um, but the rest that I'll have are pretty much they're going to be all black.
All right.
So probably giving out the black T-shirt with the logo on it.
Black T-shirts for the BlackSwarm podcast. Pretty on brand there. So doing a little bit of Massillon trivia. You can come up to the FW Renner and Sons sponsored tailgate to get yourself some possible chance at some merch. And what kind of food do we got cooking up?
Yeah, so I'm doing a couple pulled porks, smoking up some pork butts. Jim is doing a brisket. So, we're gonna have a decent amount of smoked meat up there. So, outside of that, just a whole bunch of random sides and stuff, as you can imagine. But I think the pork butts and brisket are gonna be the main attraction.
Yeah, and obviously a lot of beverages are going to be flowing. Everybody's going to be having a good time. I think we would probably be remiss if we didn't remind everybody to be on their P's and Q's and behave a little more, especially what happened after last year, after the game. It was a big talking point last year that it's kind of sad to see the state of affairs going on over in Canton at this point in time, but I imagine we're going to have some extra law enforcement out and about to make sure that doesn't happen. So, just remember your I don't know, open container laws and laws in general, and just behave, I guess would be the best way to put it.
Yeah, I think it's one of those events where everybody kind of knows what's going on, but just make sure you're on your right behavior, and I think everybody can still have a really fun time. But yeah, I mean, it makes sense. It's a big rivalry game, and on top of just the normal aspects of this, I think both schools are trying to keep things as clean as possible. So, they always increase security at these games. So, just be careful out there. I don't think anybody's going to give anybody a hard time, but just be on your good behavior, and it shouldn't be an issue to begin with.
Yeah, so I guess with that, we could slide into what we were talking about earlier with, what do we think just McKinley's general state of the program is at this point? Because, like we talked about, 1-12 in the last 13 years. Antonio Hall came in, and we were expecting a lot of good things out of him to kind of bring that program back up to what it once was, but a lot of outside forces, not under his control, are kind of, I would say, maybe inhibiting that a little bit, and we've seen a little bit of a backslide from them, and just coming into the game 6-3 this year. What's our thoughts on the general state of Canton McKinley?
Yeah, I mean, they're obviously in a tough position. The city of Canton is not in a great spot right now. Um, so I mean that makes it tough to begin with. But yeah, and I don't know. I haven't seen that next step from him from Antonio Hall when they got there in their program. I think a lot of people were under the impression that it was kind of set up that he was going to become the AD. He was going to get inserted for the coach. The last coach kind of was a scapegoat. Not that he was very good as a coach, but it kind of seemed like it was a scapegoat to get rid of him in order to bring Hall in. And I mean, the idea makes sense. Bring in one of your all-time great players to coach your team. And I think he kind of turned it around initially. Got everybody on board, but I'm still waiting for that next step. So I mean, I don't know. There was the big incident last week where they run out of the tunnel early and they go through the band, and it just looks stupid, and it's just dysfunctional, and that's the kind of stuff you see with them just across the board, and it's just one of those things that you would never see in Massillon. You'd never see something like that happen, and just getting everybody on the same page. It's like you're the football coach, but you're also the athletic director. You're also a symbol in the community, in the school district, and being able to work together with the band, with the cheerleaders, with the press box operators, with whoever's in charge of facilities. it just seems like they're still kind of in a lull where they're not at that, and they're not anywhere near us, that's for sure. But they're just still kind of a step back from what you'd even see from other local programs.
Yeah. Um, I know right now they're, I think, tied first place, and I think that's set in stone that they're going to share a first place championship with the Fed this year for whatever that's worth to NAU. But I think a lot of it is just the shit outside of his control and kind of goes into the general state of Canton at the moment. You saw, what was it, 2 years ago when we had them beat pretty soundly and we're just running out the clock and it looked like stuff was starting to get hairy a little bit, and he calls a timeout and gathers the troops and gets them to calm down a little bit. And then the whole thing last year with the fight during the handshake line, and to his credit, he was out there, one of the guys tackling his own players to not, so as to not make it a bigger thing than it was. So you can tell his heart's in the right place. He knows what it's supposed to be. I just don't know if is he the guy that just can't put everything together, or is it just the infrastructure for the city as a whole is so bad that he has no way to truly do that and get that school back up to what what historically it has been.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure. I mean, like you said, he was pulling kids away last year during the scrum. A couple years ago, we called a timeout to try to stop it from getting chippy. But then I think another player threw a punch right after the timeout, so it was it wasn't really that effective. And I think there was the one year where we're taking kneel downs to end the game, or we're just running out the clock, but he's not calling timeout, he's just letting it run down. And it's I understand that, and that probably helps stop any issues from arising, but it also just kind of seemed like he gave up. I wouldn't want my coach not using his timeouts in a game where in a rivalry game. I don't even remember what year that was, but I remember watching them just not go for
I
it.
was
And I was
gonna ask that because this is only his third year there.
I mean, it might have been that last home game where it was they used the fight, they used the timeouts for the fights, but maybe they had already.
I think they're.
I think he still had another timeout left after that. He didn't use it or something. I don't know.
I mean, that one they were pretty well and out of it too. It wasn't.
Maybe
it wasn't as bad as
different.
last year where, we won the game 35-0. They just couldn't do anything. But the year before that, we had that in the bag pretty well and handled very early on.
Yeah, I don't know, but I really didn't like their incident with running through the band last week. It just seemed like such an avoidable situation, and he led them out of the tunnel. So it's what are you doing leading your team out of the tunnel when you know it's not the right time to run out of the tunnel? It's just such a dumb look, and apparently they've done that a couple times, and they did it again at halftime. They came back out at halftime, and they have the players going through the band, and they're calling it a senior prank or something stupid like that. But it's just the dysfunction between the systems. I highly doubt that the band director is unwilling to work with you on how to do a entrance.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's just weird dysfunctional stuff like that. And it's been the case in Canton for a long time like that. That's why they have to outsource a lot of their a lot of aspects of them running a game has to be outsourced. They have to bring in special security. They have to bring in people to do tickets for them because they can't do tickets themselves. They can't really run a press box themselves. They have to have people do this for them. When they used to host the state championship games at Massillon and at Fawcett, we would have Massillon people that would run the games here, and then they would get up and drive over to Canton, and they'd help run the games there too, because Canton just doesn't have the people to do it. They don't know how to put on events. They don't have enough volunteers. They just don't have structure. The organization is not there from the top to bottom. And it's just those are the simple things that your first job is to win games, right? Or, your first job is to make your kids better men. But then it's to win games. But like at one point, you have to set a structure within the school district, the school facilities. There has to be some kind of set organization to, where everybody's working together, and they just don't have that.
Yeah, it's. I mean, it's almost become just the same talking point at this stage of the podcast, where it's just a sorry state of affairs over there, and it has been for a while. And I think it's going to take a lot of legwork to undo those years and years of stink. But it's not like we're talking about that they haven't been good since, 1994. They were still a premier program in what, 10, 11 when they, when we both played. It's like we haven't been out of the game that long. We've been graduated high school, 11, 12 years at this point. A historic program like that shouldn't just go to shit in the last decade. And it's just sad to see them become what they are. You always want in a rivalry game like this, obviously, at least from our side, it's never really going to lose that luster, that shine, that meaning for us at least. But for them, it's like, are they going to be up for it in a good way? Or are they just going to be looking to start fights and shit? Are they... maybe you could just chalk up the Jackson game for them looking ahead, but then that goes back to Antonio Holland. You have to have your guys up each and every week and ready to go and not looking ahead, and that's something we've been able to do just fine. It's just... I don't know. I'm at a loss at this point, and quite frankly, I'm just in like a show me type thing. Can you come out with any life? Do you have any pride in your city, in your school, in your team that you got bopped, you got destroyed, dragged through the mud, 35-0 last year? You couldn't do shit on offense. You couldn't stop us on defense. What are you going to bring to the table on Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, the issue is I bet the kids do get themselves hyped up, but you get yourself all hyped up, and the next thing you know, it's 21-0, and just all of that, pent up excitement has to go somewhere, and that's when it starts to get chippy. But hopefully they can start to turn it around. Get a couple teams together. I know they got a couple kids from Texas and a couple transfers this year, and that hopefully that at least shows signs of the program trying to grow. Not saying that's how you should grow your program, but it is like a sign that it's happening. But they don't have any community support over there. They don't have any fans that go to their game. They constantly have this just Hall of Fame being hung over their heads of, what's going to happen. It's not a if, it's a when. Are we going to get kicked out of our own high school? Are we going to get kicked out of our own stadium? Where are we going to go from there? Are they going to end up building the school downtown? I mean, is having a school downtown actually going to help them? So, I think there's just a lot going on in the community in general, but Canton's not a great place, and yeah, they just don't have any support. It's hard for them to, really grow a program and, make it seem like people care if people aren't willing to care. So in this day and age where you can watch games on TV, overall attendance at sporting events is down. At least Massillon still has that community around it to where they're willing to support the team. They're willing to go to the games. Canton just doesn't really have that. And I think the kids feed off of that also. So, there's a lot of things that need to change in Canton, and it's not going to be an easy road for them, but they have to figure some stuff out. And there are things that they can control and they're not. Like running out of your tunnel and going through your own band. That's something you control. That doesn't require 10,000 fans to be in the stadium for you to do it. So, there's still plenty of things they need to clean up, but I think it all stems from just the Canton community in general not being in a great place right now.
Yeah, you talking about the community made me think of, seeing on Facebook the last couple days people talking about, can you stream the game? Where's it going to be streamed at? The same song dance we do every week. I don't know why people don't just bookmark the shit at this point. But point being of people putting screenshots of like looking to buy tickets to the game. And, in years past when McKinley's coming in at 9-0, 8-1, what have you, even 7-2, they at least have a decent crowd until we kick their ass, and it's game's over by the third quarter. But they've at least had decent showings for this game in the past. And now this year, it's you look at the heat map of the stadium and what tickets are sold and what aren't, and there's like just a little enclave above our student section for all the home tickets that are sold at, that are still available, and then almost all of the away tickets are still there. It's like, it's not like they're driving down to Cincinnati for this game. It's 8 miles west of them, and you can't sell what 500, 1,000, 1,500 tickets to the biggest rivalry in high school football.
I'm sure they will. I haven't seen the seating chart for away tickets, so I've only seen the home tickets, and I know those are like basically sold out. I never saw away tickets available at all because I think I was just looking for Massillon tickets when I was buying mine. But they're still going to bring some people. It might not be shoulder to shoulder all the way up, but they always bring some people for this game.
And that's kind of the point, though, is like you don't just want to bring some people to this game. I don't care if you're limping into this bullshit at, no wins on the season. It's the biggest rivalry in high school football that dates back over 100 years. You come out, you show out, and you support your team. And that's the thing they're missing. And like you said, not all of the issues they have stem from not having that. But I think a lot of it is at least indicative of where everything is at this point of you just don't have anybody wanting to come out for this shit relative. And it's sad. It's just a sorry state of affairs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you're exactly right. And how do you turn that around? Does the community start and the team follows, or do you go 9-0 into a Massillon McKinley game and then the community follows?
I mean, at this point, I think the community is, if that support is there and waiting to be built back, and you at least have an avenue through success with the football program, then you need to be able to give them that success in the football program. You can't be limping into this 6-3 off of a sorry loss to Jackson when you did a senior prank running through your band halfway through their Script Ohio shit. And it just goes, I think it just boils down to control what you can control, and when you can button up that stuff and anything else at least within the halls of Canton McKinley High School and the athletic facility and this and that, maybe the support will come back, but at this point, it's just a tough scene all around.
Yeah, no, I agree.
But it's not a tough scene on our side of the fence. I know our fans are going to be there. We're going to be showing out. We're all going to be having a good time. And I'm trying to end this segment on a positive high note. So just sitting here thinking, getting pumped for the game. We're going to be out there early. We're going to be having fun, having a good time, seeing a bunch of friends, family, and people that aren't necessarily going to be home for all of the Massillon games, but you are goddamn sure that they're going to be showing out for this one. So get out there on Saturday. Bring your friends, bring your family, bring everybody that owns any sort of orange article of clothing, and at least from our side of the fence, let's treat this game like we know it should be treated.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's going to be a great time at the game, at the pregame, at the postgame. So, I know Massillon fans are showing up. Tickets are basically sold out. But, get there early, have some fun all morning, and then enjoy the game.
So with that, do we have any spreads this week?
We do. There's some good ones,
All
actually.
right, let's get into her then. Rivalry week all across high school football, kind of peeking ahead at the college games a little bit, and a lot of 6-1, 5-2 teams facing each other. So this should be a good time.
All right, so let's just start with the first one. Hoban at St. Ed's.
Ooh,
Hoban by 1.5.
wow! I picked Eds to cover easily last week, and they did. I
Mhm.
liked them as an underdog outright win, which they did not make that happen. So I'm just going to hammer down even harder on that take. They cannot afford to have a disaster season like it's looking like coming off of a state championship win because we can't have Hoban and Eds as down bad as they are this year. So give me Eds.
Yeah, I like Ed's also. We talked about Hoban being down, but they're really not down.
It's
Um,
compared to what comparing them to themselves in the past few years is what I mean when I
yeah, I
say
mean,
down Hoban.
I still don't know if they're really that far down compared to like even the team we played last year. Ed's obviously not having a great season. They're 5-4 right now, so this would be a fifth loss if they were to lose this one. Yeah, I just don't think they can afford to go 5-5 in the regular season. So I think they find a way to, mimic what Walsh was able to do against Hoban, and they go out there and they cover. Green at Lake, Green by 2.5.
Green took McKinley to overtime. Lake got their shit absolutely rocked. Give me Green to cover.
Hoover at Jackson, Jackson by 12.5.
I hate the fact that they both have basically the same color scheme because Hoover was the one that took McKinley to overtime, not Green. Uh, you said Hoover 12.5.
Jackson's favored by 12 and a
Jackson
half.
favored 12.5. Holy shit. Um, ew. Hoover covers. Jackson wins.
Perry at Glen Oak, Perry's favored by 17.5.
I know Glen Oak is down, down, down bad. Perry's Perry. Give me Glen Oak to cover.
Warren at Fitch, Fitch by 13.5.
Warren needs a bounce back game bad. Don't know shit about Fitch besides all the stereotypes we always preach. Give me Warren to cover, but I like Fitch outright.
Manchester at CVCA, CVCA by 13.5.
CVCA. What's that?
You're gonna have to make me pull this out of my ass. I don't know. Is it Cuyahoga Valley Christian Academy or something?
Oh, um, I know we don't like what Manchester did with their direction of their football program, right?
That's what I said last week.
But something about like any of the local Christian academies just don't seem to prioritize football one bit. So give me Manchester to cover.
So here's a weird one. It's basically a pick 'em. I think they had to list it this way since there's no real money on the line.
Mm-hmm.
Normally it would be a pick 'em, and then just the odds would be a little bit better for which one's the underdog. But it's Fairless at Tuslaw. Tuslaw's favored by half of a point. So it's a pick 'em where they're saying Tuslaw is technically favored.
Yeah. Tuslaw at home, week 10. Oh, God, there's nothing about this I like. Fairless, I at least recognize the name. I'll take a dog. Give me Fearless.
I recognize the name Fearless. Okay. They're like right next to each other, rivals.
Yeah, but there's always like one or two games in these spreads that like I don't even recognize the school like and who they are, like the CVCS or whatever the hell. So the fact that it's Tuslaw playing a team that I at least know where they are on the map, yeah, I'm taking the one where I know where they are on the map.
Okay, Marion local at Coldwater. Marion local by 16.5.
Give me Coldwater to cover.
Two perennial powerhouses. I think Marion local has won like 57 straight games or something like that.
Oh, that's why I recognize them. Yeah, I forgot about that little factoid. Going for 58.
Notre Dame at Navy. Notre Dame by 12.5.
12 and a half. With the way that Notre Dame's been running the ball and can run the clock, is Notre Dame going to have time to score 12 and a half points? Because I feel like they might have maybe 2 possessions in this entire game. Give me Navy to cover.
Washington at Indiana. Indiana 6.5.
Nebraska at Indiana, or Indiana at Nebraska, was also my underdog lock of the week last week. And they just got taken behind the woodshed and just beat to death with a hammer. And I went like full circle on my take on Indiana of I don't know if they've played anybody, but they did just beat the brakes off Nebraska. But does Nebraska even qualify as an anybody? So jury's still out for me on Indiana, but Washington State is no bueno this year, so give me Indiana to cover.
Washington.
Oh, Washington proper. Washington proper. Not good at the footballs this year like they were last year. I'm still taking Indiana to cover, and this is their prove-it game for me.
Illinois at Oregon.
Oh, boy.
Oregon by 21.5.
Oregon covers easy.
All right, we'll see. I think this might be like an Oregon comeback down game, and a Illinois definitely belongs in the top 20 game.
So Oregon, their comeback down game was supposed to be Purdue, and they beat the brakes off them like what 35-0. Didn't let them score.
Yeah, but Purdue sucks.
Yeah, but that's like Purdue's specialty. Is that game right there coming off of a big win.
Yeah, but they suck.
Yeah, but it's still Purdue. That's like what they do. They should at least, like, the fact that they didn't let Purdue score tells me Oregon is like the real deal and they're not going to have a comeback down game. Illinois, on the other hand, this one is going to be their comeback down game because they just didn't even beat the brakes off Michigan. They beat them, but Michigan turned the ball over like 3 times in the first half, if I'm not mistaken. So I like Oregon a lot in this game.
Missouri at Bama 13.5.
Mizzou sucks. Bama needs a comeback game. Bama.
Texas at Vanderbilt. Texas 18.5.
R.I.P. Vandy. Texas has something to prove now since they got their shit rocked by Georgia. Give me Texas.
Michigan State at Michigan. Michigan 5.5.
Holy shit. Michigan State is so down bad, and Michigan's only favored by 5.5 points.
At home.
That is embarrassing. I don't know who to pick. I really don't. Because I would expect any self-respecting team to be able to like beat the brakes off Michigan State, but Michigan just decided that they are liquidating all their stocks in the forward pass. So, Yeah. Give me Michigan, I guess.
So I thought this was an interesting line. Penn State at Wisconsin. Penn State by 6.5.
That's it? Wow. So the last one we had on here that the line surprised me was Tennessee, Arkansas, when Tennessee was only favored by a few points and Arkansas ended up winning the game outright, I believe.
Yeah.
But I've seen enough of Wisconsin, and I watched a little bit of the Penn State-West Virginia game. Penn State is trying to prove themselves as one of the big boys in the Big Ten and not just a step-down program from the, Ohio State and Michigan of the world. Give me Penn State to come out and hammer down.
All right, I'm trying to double check and see if that's 6.5 or 7.
Wow.
I guess that's the real spread. LSU at Texas A&M. A&M by 2.5.
Really?
Yep.
I don't know what to make of A&M this year because I watched them play week 1 against Notre Dame, I think. And they also seem to be trailing Michigan on the de-investing from the forward pass stock. But they came out and beat a pretty decent team a few weeks ago, like 45-13 or some shit like that. LSU is not that bad. Give me LSU as dogs.
I just had to look up what the Ohio State spread was this week because it wasn't on our list. Ohio State 25.5 against Nebraska.
Nebraska bad. Ohio State's going to be on a tear now, hopefully. Give me Ohio State to prove a point on Saturday. Let's call it that.
All right. I like it.
So, last but not least is to guess the line.
I mean, if you want to, yeah.
So, unfortunately...
Oh, I also had a special note.
Oh, yeah?
For this. And it was just reinforcing to me that the Massillon spread is not always like boosted.
Yeah.
It's more of a feel thing.
Okay.
I like to say it's boosted because, personally I think it's too high sometimes. Yeah. But then Massillon ends up covering anyway, so it just means I'm wrong. But sometimes I let you know that it's boosted.
So
when it's really not. I just think it's higher than it should be.
So the note this week is that Rob's wrong. It's not boosted.
Throughout the year, yeah, not this week particular, just in general. Yeah. But no, I mean, sometimes what I read from it is sometimes it does get boosted based on people's perception because the idea is you're still trying to make it 50-50.
Yeah.
So even if you think it's going to be a 14-point game, but everybody in the group thinks it's going to be a 20-point game, then you boost it up a little bit.
And that makes sense because on real betting lines, public money will shift the line. So
absolutely,
with this game, the line's only coming out earlier in the week and not shifting at all. You kind of have to hedge the bet, so to speak, and guess where the public money also, so to speak, because there's no money involved, where it would go. So it makes sense that it gets, boosted a little bit. But all that being said, talking earlier this week, I was told that the line on Joe Idol's Fantastic 50 site was Massillon minus 33, I believe. But with that, up until last year, we always kind of kept it close-ish for some reason. I don't know if it just that being part of the rivalry game or us kind of taking it easy because of the rivalry game or what. But, 18, 19, 22, all seem like we came in with a lot more high-powered offenses than what we ended up putting on the board. I mean, we still beat them handily, but still less points than you would expect from the rest of our resume. All that being said, I don't know where I fall in this game, so I'm going to guess Massillon minus 27.5.
Yeah.
Did I hit it on the head?
Yeah. 27.
20. Let's go, boys! Woo! Since we've been doing this game, I think I've always been like just right fucking there, almost-ish.
Yeah.
But this is the first one hitting it right on the head. So this has me feeling even better about this game on Saturday than I already was. Because I was going in already up here, and now I am just in the clouds looking down on all you peasants who are bad at gambling, even though I am too. Hammer Massillon, beat McKinley. Let's fucking go.
Let's go.
So with that, we have anything else to add tonight, Rob?
I don't think so. I got to figure out which one of the movies I have to watch tonight, so then I can figure out which of the other one, which one I'm going to be watching tomorrow night.
Obviously, talking about Go Tigers and Timeless Rivals.
Yep.
I think I'm going to go with Timeless Rivals tomorrow night and Go Tigers at some point Friday. Just to roll that,
Yep.
Go Tigers into Saturday. And yeah, that's going to be the plan of attack now. So with that, it's that time of year, boys and girls. Get excited. We'll see y'all out there Saturday. Go Tigers. Fuck the dogs.
Go Tigers.